Alan Jackson. You ever have a song that feels like it was written just for you? A tune that hits so close to home, it feels like someone cracked open your heart and put the words to music? For millions of people, that someone has always been Alan Jackson. But now, the man behind those unforgettable songs is facing something no one ever saw coming, and it's breaking hearts all over the world. Now, let's rewind for a second. Alan Jackson wasn't born into fame or fortune. Nope, he came from a tiny town called Noonan, Georgia. Born on October 17, 1958, Alan grew up in a modest little house that was literally built around his grandfather's old tool shed. Life wasn't glamorous. Money was tight, times were tough. But his family had love, faith, and a whole lot of grit. And that right there, that foundation, would shape the man who went on to change country music forever. As a kid, Alan was quiet, the kind of boy who kept to himself. He found comfort in church hymns and old country records spinning in his parents' home. Legends like Hank Williams and Gene Watson became the voices in his head, sparking dreams that felt way bigger than a small Georgia town could hold. By 12, he had a guitar in his hands. By his teens, he was already scribbling down songs, though he kept most of them hidden in notebooks. After high school, Alan wasn't living some glamorous life. He worked construction, sold cars, even fixed shoes. But he also married his high school sweetheart, Denise, who just happened to believe in his talent more than he did. And honestly, she might be the reason the world even knows his name today. While working as a flight attendant, Denise ran into Glenn Campbell, that Glenn Campbell, and slipped him one of Alan's demo tapes. That bold move cracked open the door to Nashville. But make no mistake, Nashville in the early 80s wasn't handing out record deals like candy. It was brutal. For every dreamer who made it, 100 others packed up and went home. But Alan wasn't trying to fit into some flashy trend. He wasn't chasing what was hot. He stuck to what felt real, honest, traditional country music with a modern heartbeat. His voice carried the ache of Hank Williams, but with a freshness that made people stop and listen. The big break finally came in 1989, when Alan became the very first country artist signed to Arista Records. The next year, his debut album, Here in the Real World, dropped. And just like that, the Georgia boy who once worked in a shoe repair shop was climbing the charts right alongside George Strait and Randy Travis. From that point on, the hits just kept coming. Don't Rock the Jukebox, Chattahoochee, A Lot About Livin', and A Little About Love, songs that weren't just catchy, but lived in. They felt like America, like backyard cookouts, heartbreaks, road trips, and everything in between. Alan wasn't just writing music, he was writing our stories. By the late 90s, he wasn't just another singer on the radio. He was one of the most important voices in modern country. And the best part? He did it without gimmicks, without selling out, just pure honesty and heart. Think about it. When you hear Chattahoochee, you're right back at that summer by the water, windows rolled down, singing like nobody's listening. Then you've got Remember When, that tearjerker of a ballad from 2003 that became the soundtrack to countless weddings, anniversaries, and even goodbyes. And who could ever forget Where Were You, When the World Stopped Turning? Written after 9/11, it wasn't political, it wasn't angry. It was raw, human, and healing. That song turned Alan into more than an entertainer. It made him a voice of comfort during one of the hardest moments in American history. But behind the cowboy hat and the platinum records, Alan was still just a man built on three things: family, faith, and the dirt roads of Georgia. His love story with Denise, there wasn't always perfect. They hit rocky times in the late 90s and even separated for a while. But instead of breaking, their marriage came back stronger, and Alan admitted it humbled him in ways he needed. Together, they raised 3 daughters, Maddie, Ali, and Danny, keeping them as far from the spotlight as possible. For Alan, his proudest role wasn't country superstar. It was dad. Faith also ran deep in Alan's life. Not in a flashy way, but in quiet hymns and gospel roots. Songs like Precious Memories proved how much those old church songs shaped him. When life got heavy, he leaned on his faith not as a show, but as a lifeline. And now, that faith has been tested in ways that stunned everyone. In 2021, Alan revealed that he had been living with Charcot-Marie tooth disease, a degenerative nerve condition that affects balance, strength, and mobility. Fans had noticed little things for years: stumbles on stage, the way he seemed tired at times, but no one imagined it was something this serious. Alan admitted the truth with his trademark honesty. There's no cure, and it's only going to get worse. Hearing that from a man who always seemed larger than life, it crushed people. The same legs that carried him across thousands of stages, the same hands that strummed a guitar through 3 decades of hits, were slowly betraying him. Touring became harder. Just walking across a stage without stumbling was a challenge. Eventually, Alan had to face reality. His time in the spotlight was coming to an end. When he spoke about it, though, he wasn't bitter. He wasn't asking for pity. He was grateful. Grateful for the years he'd had, the fans who stood by him, the family who held him up. He promised to keep writing and recording for as long as he could, leaving behind songs that would outlive him. And honestly, that's the most Alan Jackson thing ever. Quiet grace, no drama, just truth. The reaction was massive. Fellow legends like George Strait called him the heart of real country music. Dolly Parton said his songs would heal and inspire long after the stage lights went out. Younger stars like Chris Stapleton and Casey Musgraves admitted his music shaped their own careers. Nashville itself lit up with tributes, murals downtown, his songs blasting from honky-tonks, entire nights at the Opry dedicated to him. But it wasn't just the industry. It was the fans, the people whose lives he touched in ways charts and awards could never measure. Couples talked about dancing to Remember When at their weddings. Veterans said, "Where were you?" helped them cope after 9/11. Families remembered road trips with Chattahoochee blasting through the speakers. People posted videos singing his songs through tears, holding guitars, kids, even tattoos with his lyrics inked on their skin. For so many, Alan wasn't just an artist. He was family. And that's why his announcement cut so deep. Because when someone who's been the soundtrack to your life admits they can't do it much longer, it feels personal. It feels like losing a piece of yourself. But here's the thing, Alan Jackson's story isn't over. He may not be able to tour forever, but his music isn't going anywhere. Every lyric, every melody, every memory wrapped inside his songs will keep living on. So, the next time Remember When comes on, or you catch yourself belting out Chattahoochee with the windows down, take a second. Remember the man who gave you those songs. The boy from Georgia who stayed true to himself, who gave us honesty when the world wanted flash, who reminded us that music isn't just entertainment, it's life itself. Alan Jackson may be stepping back, but his voice will echo for generations. And honestly, that's a legacy no disease can ever take away. If Alan's music has ever meant something to you, drop your favorite memory in the comments. And if you want more stories like this one, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Because legends like Alan deserve to be remembered not just for their struggles, but for the way they shaped our lives.